Well, good morning, brethren, and to everyone who will listen to this tape later. Brethren, have you ever wondered in your mind, and I'm sure you have, what it's going to be like during the reign of Christ on this earth? What is he going to do? How's he going to solve the problems? How's he going to get rid of the evil? Well, there's answers to that right in the scriptures. And as my title is, The Rescue Mission. And believe me, brethren, that's what it's going to be. Now, what I want to do first of all is go back to the time of Adam and Eve, our first parents. Okay, now, what they did, as you all are aware, they chose to go their own way and make their own decisions, okay, do things their way. Instead of obedience to our Father in heaven, they chose self-will, which they did, and conflict. Instead of true happiness, they chose pain and suffering, when you really think of it. Now, the impact of all this, brethren, still goes on today, right through time up to now, and will continue for a while, but not very long. So, this choice, brethren, basically, when you think of it, was between God's way, which is the tree of life, and man's way, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which I have said earlier is still going on today. Now, many people today, unfortunately and sadly, they make choices, brethren, between these two fruits of these two trees. And the vast majority, I will hasten to say, have chosen the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They choose for themselves, brethren, what they think is right and wrong. Whatever they feel in their minds and hearts, they go along with it, and they make up their own rules as they go. I've seen that so many times. They'll say to me, if I mention something about the scriptures, saying, oh, well, I don't go along with that, or I don't believe that, or you're from the old school, I've been told. Well, that's all right. I'll choose the old school of the Holy Scriptures, brother, of living by it, rather than this modern day. And you'll see why as I go along. And the things going on in this society today, brethren, certainly reflect that choice of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. Let's turn to 2 Timothy 3. Let's start out there. 2 Timothy. And does he ever tell it like it is? 2 Timothy, you'll turn that way to your Bibles, in chapter 3. I'm going to read to you verses 1 to 5 and verse 7. This know also, brethren, that in the last days perilous times will come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful and unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that do good. And I'll tell you, brethren, that verse 3, right at the end there, recent murder of Charlie Kirk certainly spells that out. You can see that. A man who was brutally shot down, a good man who was trying to bring our youth to the scriptures, to the commandments, and to bring them to Christ. And he was murdered by some demented, murderous individual. Verse 4, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of our Creator God. Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, from such avoid. Stay away from them. Stay away from their groups, their parties, their bars, everything. Avoid them. I'm going to read to you verse 7. ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. Do you ever wonder that about people in general? Never able to come to the truth. My feeling is that they're not interested because they have their own pleasure and way of thinking, and they think that's good. But our Creator God says to mankind, He says, your ways are not my ways. Some men may think it's a way of good, but it leads to death. There you have it. Timothy telling us what's happening. Now, it's interesting to note, brethren, the Apostle Paul, several thousand years ago, well in advance in his day, he listed many of these causes of humanity's ills. He listed them. And he said why they're happening. Here's what you're doing wrong. And he knew it was getting worse because he lived under Roman rule. The apostles knew the same thing he knew about the days he lived in, they lived in, and they knew it was getting bad too. But our Messiah, brethren, one day got the apostles together and he told them, he says, I am going to return to this earth. I'm coming back. And there's going to be an age of peace and prosperity. So the apostles normally, or naturally, I should say, asked him and says, well, when will this happen? And is that ever an important question? When? I would ask the same thing, believe me. When are you coming back? Well, in today's day and age, we need him to come back. And they asked them also, what is going to be the sign of your coming? Well, there's an answer to that in the Holy Scriptures, brethren. Let's turn to Matthew 24, the book of Matthew. Chapter 24. Most of us are familiar with this chapter, but I'm going to read it again because it's ever so important in today's day and age. Matthew 24. I'm going to read you verse 21 to 22. Matthew 24. In verse 21, for then shall be great tribulation, such as what was not since the beginning of the world, in this time, nor ever shall be. And except those days be shortened, there should be no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Well, brethren, I'm going to go so far as to say that the future of humanity in this day and age is at stake, and it is. But there's good news with all that. Before any of that's going to happen, brethren, our Father in heaven will literally return to this earth, and he's going to make things right and save mankind from destruction. I want to read to you Matthew 24:30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with the power and great glory. Brethren, he's going to get our attention on this earth. And he has ways of doing it, and he's going to do it. When he comes back, brethren, he's going to plant his feet on the Mount of Olives. And I'll hasten to say that Jerusalem and that surrounding area is a very hotly contested piece of real estate. Wow, is it ever? And it's known as Jerusalem, the Mount of Olives. Turn to Zechariah 4:14, the book of Zechariah. Let's go to chapter 14. I want to read to you verses 1 to 5. Chapter 14, Zechariah. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from that city. Then shall I, the Lord, go forth and fight against those nations, and when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a great valley, and half of the mountains shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south. Wow. And you shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azalea. Ye shall flee, like as you fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with him. He's bringing the saints with him, brethren. Now, after our Savior has subdued his enemies in Zechariah, again, let's see. I think I lost my place here just for a moment. In Zechariah, chapter 3, verse 9. Okay, let's turn over to there. I'll be there in just a second. I want to read to you verse 9 here. And the Lord God Almighty shall be king over all the earth in that day, and there shall be one Lord, and his name one. So he's going to be king, brethren, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and he's taking over, which is really a good thing. Let's turn to the book of Micah briefly here. The book of Micah. Let's go to chapter 4, verses 1 to 5. Micah 4, 1 to 5. But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. And many nations shall come and say, Come, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of the God of Jacob. And he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth in Zion, and the word of the eternal God from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. And every man will sit under his vine, under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the eternal God of hosts has spoken it. For all people and all walks, every one in the name of his God, and we shall walk in the name of the eternal God forever and ever. So, brethren, it's going to be an ever ongoing thing forevermore. Finally, brethren, we will have justice and a compassionate government We will have somebody ruling over us that's compassionate, honest, and just. And believe me, this world today sorely needs it. Sorely needs it. Now, there's 5 things I want to mention here, brethren, that's coming our way and it will occur during Christ's reign on this earth. 5 things. First of all, the source of evil is going to be removed. Let's look at Revelation 20. Revelation 20. Okay. I'm going to read to you verses 1, 2, and 3. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up. And he set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years are fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little while. Just a little while. So there you have it. That's the first thing that's going to happen. The source of deception and evil is going to be done away with. It's going to be locked up, gone, not influencing the mind of men anymore. Number 2, brethren, which is extremely important as well, and here comes the heart transplant. This is what's going to happen. Turn to Ezekiel chapter 36. Ezekiel 36. And boy, do we need a heart transplant. I'm going to read to you verses 25 to 27. Ezekiel 36. Then will I sprinkle clean waters upon you, and ye shall be clean. From all your filthiness and from all your idols will I cleanse you. And a new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit, and I will put within you, and I will take away the stony heart out of you, and put into you a heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you shall keep my judgments and do them. Well, brethren, there's what's going to happen to us all over this world. Not just a few people here and there, but all over the United States, all over the world, South America, Europe, everywhere. He's going to put a heart of flesh in humankind. Thirdly, we're going to have perfect leaders. And when I say perfect, they're going to rule with justice, honesty, and goodness, and be compassionate on people. Let's turn to 1 Corinthians 15. 1 Corinthians 15. How's he going to do that? Well, he tells us right here. 1 Corinthians 15, I'm going to read to you verses 50 to 53. Now, we have to keep in mind that present-day world leaders and governments, they're trapped in such a web of corruption. And we can see that. We can read about it. We know about it. And there's scandal everywhere. But, brethren, that's all going to change and be made right. 1 Corinthians 15, 50 to 53. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, neither doth corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall be all changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? So we're going to have resurrected servants, brethren, who are going to be incorruptible. Corruption's going to be gone. And they're going to take over and rule this earth under the instruction, directions, and commands of our Messiah. And they're going to clean things up. They're going to make fair laws, they're going to have good laws, and they're going to be enacted on behalf of humanity. And that's the way it's going to be. And I look forward to that, and I'm sure you do too. Here's the fourth thing, brethren, which all of us in here at various times have thought about and hope would go away, and that is warfare. It's going to be taken away. No more wars. Turn to Micah chapter 4, if you will. Let's go over here. Micah chapter 4. I'm going to read you verse 3. And he shall judge among many peoples and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they want war any more. Brethren, these war colleges we hear about, training camps for warfare, where our young people are taken in, drafted, taken in, or they sign up, and their minds are used to produce weapons of mass destruction. They're trained in colleges and technical institutes and that about weapons and developing weapons. I remember back, way back in the late 60s and 70s, certain universities and colleges were consistently advertising for various universities in the area where I lived, or I currently live, weapons. We need weapons development. We need people to develop warfare weapons, missiles, and all kinds of things. That was back in the late 60s and 70s. Look what it's turned into today. Really something. And these bright hopes of these people, brethren, and the great potential of our youth are going to be used to do good things for humanity. They're going to develop wonderful things for humanity across this earth. They're no longer going to be used as cannon fodder in warfare and destruction. How many men have we lost in World War I, World War II, the Civil War? 630,000 men died in that war, brethren, the Civil War. Wow, I'll tell you. We lost 400,000 in World War II. We lost almost that amount in World War I. And disease followed it too. But that's all going to be gone, brethren. All the great resources of the human mind are going to be used, our youth and even older people, are going to be used for the betterment of humankind. They're going to develop things, as I said earlier, to the betterment of humanity. Our commander-in-chief, Yeshua the Messiah, is going to see to it. And he's going to rule this earth. And he tells us, I'm going to rule this earth with a rod of iron. I look forward to that, because we're heading for disaster, but he's coming back to prevent it. Now, the fifth thing, which is very important, extremely important, everything I've said so far is extremely important for the survival of humankind. And the last thing that's going to happen on this earth during Christ's reign, brethren, is we're going to rebuild the old places. Wow, is there going to be destruction across this earth? But here's what's going to happen. After what I'm going to call the most devastating war in human history, which is going to come about, there's going to be an incredible amount of cleanup and rebuilding to do. But this time, people are going to be able to rebuild these old places, brethren, and they're going to know when they're rebuilding them, putting them together and cleaning things up, that it's not going to be destroyed again in a few years by another war. That's going to be a very wonderful thing, knowing you rebuilt in a city, a town, a village, and it's going to stay that way. It's not going to be destroyed by some invading force, because the war is going to be gone. And it's going to be done, this rebuilding, in a very sensible and sustainable way. Cities are going to be clean and safe. Imagine that. Villages, farmlands are going to be productive and beautiful. There's going to be picturesque scenes from the words of the prophets. I'm going to read to you Amos chapter 9. I will bring back the captives of my people Israel. They shall build the waste cities and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and drink wine from them. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them therein. They shall also say, this land was desolate, has become like a garden of Eden, and the wasted, desolate, and ruined cities are now fortified and inhabited. Ezekiel 36:35. Again, Jerusalem, as we all know, has been fought over many times. Destroyed, rebuilt, destroyed, rebuilt. Well, it's finally going to live up to the meaning of its name, brother, as a city of peace and safety, Jerusalem. Zechariah 8, verse 4 to 5 tells us, even Jerusalem, the most fought over city, old men and old women shall again sit in the streets of Jerusalem, each one with his staff in his hand because of great age. The streets of the city shall be full of boys and girls playing in the streets. Imagine that. You're going to be out there with your children. You're going to see them playing in the streets. You're not going to fear any drive-by shootings or any of that sort of thing, or kidnappings, any of that sort of thing. So little boys and girls are going to play in the streets safely. And it'll be a wonderful, peaceful time, brother, a wonderful time. This world we live in, brethren, is going to become without war. It's going to be incredibly better than today's world, I can assure you. But it'll have true peace because it's following the eternal God's way of life, keeping his commandments. It'll be a fantastic time, brethren, almost beyond imagination. I want to read to you, because God himself promises it, a world of peace and prosperity. Let's look at Micah chapter 4 again. I'm going to read to you verse 4 and 5. I just read this, but I'm going to read it again. It's so important. But they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the eternal God of hosts has spoken it. And all people walk, everyone in the name of his God, and we will all walk in the name of the Lord our God forever and ever. And the scriptures tell us, brethren, when a man's 100 years old, he's going to be considered a young man. Imagine that. When you reach 100 years old. I can picture that time period. If I were 100 years old, somebody walks up to me, says, how old are you? I said, I'm not a day over 25 or something like that. But anyway, a man will live as long as a tree. I mean, a tree can live 200 or 300 years. I don't know the exact number, but age process is going to be reduced greatly. We're not going to age fast at all. And that'll be a wonderful time. Disease, aging problems, backaches, headaches, that will be gone because the Spirit of our Creator is going to be with us. And it's very, very strong. No more wars. We're going to rebuild the old places. Children are going to be free to walk around without being hurt. And there's something else, too, that I want to mention here. It's about the animal kingdom. They're going to change. They're going to be made to change. The Holy Scriptures tell us, brethren, and this sign I have at the front here on this podium tells it all. The little girl, the little boy is going to walk with the lion and the sheep. And these here canine type beasts we know about, they're going to eat straw and grass, and they're not going to be flesh-eating animals anymore. And they're going to be friendly towards humanity. So that's going to be a wonderful thing. So the attitude of even the animal kingdom is going to change. And it's going to be a wonderful time, brethren. And I need to say in closing, thy kingdom come.